I remember that day as it was yesterday. I went to class and class was actually canceled. So I went back to my dorm room and a friend of mine calls and says, the Twin Towers are on fire. I was like, that's impossible. I just saw them. I mean, it was a beautiful day that day. I was like, it's impossible. It felt like time was actually frozen. I felt like I could see the watch on my clock and the seconds ticking super slow. And before that, I had already known that Islam was the truth, but I didn't have that little push over the edge yet. But man, September 11th, that day, watching the whole thing from across the river, realizing that reality, that death is right across the river. What happens if something happens right now? The concept of death, the concept that we're not promised tomorrow. I was just in this panic mode, like, man, I need something. And my friend tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, I'm gonna go back to my room and pray. Immediately, without any question, I said, no, I'm going with you. And it was the peace that I needed at that moment.
Assalamualaikum, everyone. This was Dr. Hernan Guadalupe, a man whose life took a profound turn on one of the most tragic days in modern history, September 11, 2001. While the world stood in shock, Dr. Hernan Guadalupe found clarity, purpose, and a faith that would change his life forever. Dr. Hernan Guadalupe was born and raised in Union City, New Jersey, now living just outside Baltimore, Maryland. His journey to Islam is nothing short of incredible. Hernan grew up in a warm and loving Latino family. His parents, who migrated to the U.S. in 1979, were devout Catholics and made sure their son had a strong foundation in faith. He attended Catholic school, which was a common tradition for Latino families looking to instill discipline and values in their children. But even as Hernan grew up with a strong sense of God consciousness, there was always a lingering feeling, a question about the deeper purpose of life. Fast forward to the morning of September 11, 2001. Like many of us, Hernan woke up to the shocking news that changed the world. But for him, it also sparked an internal shift. The tragedy made him question everything: his faith, his purpose, and the direction of his life. That day, Hernan spoke to a Muslim friend who was equally stunned by the events unfolding. He noticed his friend preparing to leave and asked where he was going. His friend calmly replied, "I'm going to pray to God." This response struck Hernan deeply. In that moment of chaos and uncertainty, his friend's unwavering faith and connection to God felt like a lifeline. Hernan decided to join him, saying,
I was just in this panic mode, like, man, I need something. And believe it or not, it felt like time was actually frozen. Like I felt like I could see the watch on my clock and the seconds ticking super slow. And it wasn't until my friend, he tapped me on the shoulder and said, hey, I'm gonna go back to my room and pray. Immediately, without any question, without wondering, well, am I gonna make the right decision? You know, I got invited to this event next week. Should I or should not? I said, no, I'm going with you. We went back to his room. And he said, okay, you know, if you're going to do this, you have to take the Shahada. But before you do that, let's make wudu. So he showed me how to make the wudu. He told me how to say the testimony of faith, Shahada. And I prayed my 2 first rak'ah right there. And it was like the peace that I needed at that moment. And I feel like, it's probably even talking about it every time I tell the story, it's like, it was that reality that we could cease to exist at any moment, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose me for at that specific moment, said, okay, you're ready now. Alhamdulillah, since that day I've been embracing Islam, mashallah, and practicing Islam, alhamdulillah.
Hernan made the decision that would change his life forever. Hernan's first prayer was filled with sincerity and a profound sense of connection. In that moment, he felt an inner peace he had never experienced before. It wasn't just about religion. It was about finding true purpose, peace, and a relationship with the Creator. When Hernan shared the news with his family, their reactions were emotional. His mother was overjoyed to see her son find peace and purpose. His father, while happy for him, was also shocked by this unexpected change. But over time, their curiosity about Islam grew. The first to follow Hernan's footsteps was his brother. After seeing the transformation in Hernan, he began learning about Islam and eventually embraced the faith. Hernan's mother soon found herself inspired as well. She took her Shahada, finding solace in the same faith that brought peace to her son. Finally, his father, after witnessing the impact Islam had on his family, also embraced the faith. Alhamdulillah. Later, Hernan married a woman who was already a practicing Muslim. Their shared faith strengthened their bond, and together they continued to grow in their deen. And now, Hernan's entire family is Muslim, alhamdulillah. Today, Hernan is not only a devout Muslim, but also an active figure in dawah. He believes the best way to invite others to Islam is through actions, kindness, generosity, and genuine relationships. His story is a testament to the transformative power of Islam and how it can bring clarity and purpose, even in the most challenging times. Hernan's journey reminds us that even in the darkest moments, there's a path to light. His story is an inspiration for anyone seeking truth and purpose in their lives.